Hey guys, so I wanted to come on today to share with you some more information about my weight loss challenge that I just completed. But before I do that, I wanted to come on and announce to you that HH Greg is having a contest that is going to be taking place on their website, and I'll leave the direct link down below as well as across the screen here so that you can enter. And they're giving away two different TVs. They're giving away an LG 55-inch OLED curved TV as well as a 49-inch LG 4K smart TV. Also giving away an LG 300 watt 2.1 channel sound bar. So they're giving away two TVs and one sound bar, and this is all taking place on their website. So I'll leave the link here so that you can enter, and I do suggest that you enter. And you can also win a $500 gift card just by following them on Twitter. So I'll leave their Twitter handle here as well as down in the description box below. And on December 16th, for 8 hours, they're giving away TVs at random to the hashtag OMLG at the end of any Twitter statement. So I strongly suggest, even if you don't have a Twitter, to make a Twitter, to make sure to follow them so that you can have your chance to enter and win these awesome prizes. Like I said, I'll leave all the information down in the description box below so that you can have the chance to enter. I definitely myself will be entering. So that's that, you guys. So you guys, I wanted to come on and talk a little bit more about my weight loss challenge, since I see that you guys were very receptive to the I guess finale dance video that we did. I was actually uploading it because my trainer asked me to, so that she can share it with her friend, and I forgot that I ended up putting it public, but I was like whatever and left it public. So during the challenge, which lasted from September 11th through November 20th, I lost about 40 pounds. And I felt pretty much amazing. It was a struggle to go through because it was more mental than the actual physical process. Of course, it did hurt working out a lot as much as we did. We worked out about 5 to 7 times a week and did all sorts of activities, from the trampoline park to using the rooftop for, using laps and flipping tires and just all sorts of things. So I did record some things, and I kind of want to take you through the process from beginning to end, but I didn't record a lot towards the middle and the end because that's when I started to have some emotional breakdowns during the process. So if you guys are new to me, you may not know that usually around the winter time, from maybe about September to January, I go through this really rough patch where I kind of get really depressed. And so this is the time of year that that usually happens. So I had to really dig deep inside of myself to be able to continue on that journey, to continue to lose weight, even though there are days that I didn't want to get out of bed. So first, I just want to share with you that during this weight loss challenge, we're divided into teams. My team consisted of 5 other lovely ladies that I truly love and adore. We bonded and grew so close, and I love them to pieces. Our team did end up losing the most weight by percentage. I think we overall lost about 10% of our body weight during those 10 weeks in the program. We took home first place, and that dance that you saw was the culmination of us all getting together and doing something fun at our finale before we won. So during our team, we also have a sponsor, and our sponsor name is Lorcan Lucey, and he owns this company called Lucey Mortgage, and he has a very very aspiring story, and I know that this video is probably going to be very long, but I want to share his story with you all, and hopefully you guys are able to hear him clearly. I know that you won't be able to see it all because I wanted you to focus on more so his words rather than the actual PowerPoint, and it was hard to try to go between the PowerPoint and looking at him. But I want you guys to hear his story because he's such an incredible person and he's so inspiring, and I just love him to pieces. The last time I did the HCC challenge and I lost weight, and afterwards I didn't know what to do or how to do it, he ended up sponsoring me to stay on board to continue my training with my trainer, and that's how to this day I still have the same trainer that I had the last time I did it 2 years ago, and that trainer is a very good friend of mine as well, and I'm gonna be so sad to see him go come May when his wife graduates out of dental school, but that's a whole nother story. So hopefully you guys enjoy hearing Lorcan's talk, and let me know in the description box if this is something that you're interested in hearing, and you know, these type of things, because I record lots and lots of things, but I don't know if you guys are usually interested or not, so I always debate with myself whether or not to put these type of videos up. So I'm just gonna take a chance and put it out there, and besides, I think everybody should hear Lorcan's story because it's very important, and the moral of it is to become an organ donor, and I'm all for saving somebody's life. In fact, myself, once I go on to another world, another eternity to be with my Lord, I plan to donate as many organs as I can, which is another motivation for me to actually work out and get my body in shape. I plan to donate as many organs as I can, like I said, and the rest of what's left, I guess I want to go to science. I guess that's just the nerd in me though. But it's really important, if you can, and if it's, you know, something that's falling upon your heart, to make sure that you register to become an organ donor. You don't know whose life you could save, and I don't know where I'd be without Lorcan, and I thank God for the young man and their family that decided to donate his organs so that through him other people have lived. Bye guys.
Well, good evening. It's humbling to be here again. I always say to people, I'm not sick of this presentation, but they remind me every year that there's new people. And every year I try to change it just a tiny bit so that if you've heard it before, you might get something different out of it. So the first thing I always like to do is get my head on straight, and this video always helps me.
I'm too weak, too slow, too big. I ate too much for breakfast. Got a headache. It's raining. My dog is sick. I can't right now. I'm not inspired. It makes me smell bad. I'm allergic to stuff. I'm fat. I'm thin. It's too hot. I'm not right. I've got shin splints, headache. I'm distracted. I'm exerting myself too much. I love to really, but I can't. I just can't. My favorite show is on. I got a case of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I don't want to do this. I'm do something else. After New Year. Next week. Might make a mistake. Got homework. I feel bloated. I have gas. Mom won't let me. I bruise easily. Oh, my blister hurts. This is dangerous. Sorry, I don't have a bike. I didn't get enough sleep. My tummy hurts. It's not in my jeans. I don't want to look all tired out. I need a better coach. I don't like getting tackled. I have a stomach ache. I'm not the athletic type. I want to get sweaty. I have better things to do. I don't want to slow you down. I have to do this. As soon as I get a promotion, I think I'll sit this one out. And my feet hurt.
So, in 2007, I was diagnosed with pulmonary fibrosis. And pulmonary fibrosis is a terminal illness, and it's in a state that there's no cure. When you're diagnosed with this disease, they give you 4 years to live. And throughout my disease, one of the things I didn't want to become was my disease. And the great thing, if there is a great thing about the lung disease, is nobody knows you have it. You can keep it secret. And I was like, I already live with this thing. I don't want to be asking or talking to people all the time about, oh, how are you feeling? I wanted to enjoy my life. And one of the great things that kept me alive was always watching videos and keeping me powerfully inside. And so I'd go to Nike on YouTube and type in inspirational videos, and this guy would come up, or some other people would come up, and it's endless the number of videos you can find. And I always could find someone who had it worse than me, and who would give anything to have a pair of legs and run up that hill or try those things. Or even when I work out at MUSC, at the Wellness Center, once in a while during the midday, I would see people who were there with 3 or 4 physical therapists because they couldn't move their bodies or they couldn't. And I always used to thank God that, okay, so my lungs may not be functioning very well, but I got legs, I got arms, I got my brain, I got my heart, I got my passion, I got everything. And that's what my story tonight hopefully will leave you with something, is that what do we have, what can we work with when we face a challenge. So our stories, yours and mine, are kind of the same. We both face a challenge, we both took on something, and different outcomes come from those challenges. And so tonight I'm going to tell you a little bit about the story. I'm going to ask you to think a little bit about organ donation, which is very important to me. And then we'll kind of try to pull it all together and hopefully we'll leave you with something to take home tonight. So, in 2007, survey says, the funny thing, yesterday I'll tell you a story while they're bringing it up. Catherine's on the phone to be talking about 90%, she's saying to me, or she's emailing me, that 90% of our battle with weight starts with what we eat. I'm like, good God, does it get any harder than that? And it's like, oh. And I said, you mean I can't outrun the Twinkie? No, you can't outrun a Twinkie. And that's serious right there. When you tie it all together with what we do, we can work out all we want, but the real decision comes down to not getting on that Twinkie bus. And I use Twinkie just because we grew up with Twinkies, at least in my age. So, tonight we're going to talk about the Twinkie bus a couple times. So here I am when I could ride the Twinkie bus. I used to hike all over the world. I was fit as a fiddle. I would run 25 miles a week. Catherine was in my running group. I used to push Catherine to run. I could push Katie to run when I was before my diagnosis. I could give her a run for her. I loved life. I thought I got it. I was a camp counselor for kids with terminal illnesses. I thought I understood everything. I thought I knew what success was. I finally got married. It took her a long time to show up, but Lizzie showed up, and I got married around 38, 9, or 40, something like that, in 2007. I was training for a Cooper River Bridge run, swim. And I had trouble swimming in the pool. And it was toward the end of this training session. And I had to move to the side. I had no idea what was going on. All of a sudden I knew I just couldn't keep up with the group. And I was moving to the side of the pool where the slower swimmers are, who became my peeps in life. And I just had no idea what was coming. Which incidentally, while we're there, is the great thing about working out. You want to always have a true test of where you are health-wise. Go to the track, go to the gym. It's the first sign that something's usually wrong with you. Will show up in your workout. So when you get diagnosed with lung disease, the first thing they start doing is have these pulmonary function tests, which can be wretched because it's like blowing into this tube, blowing into a breathalyzer, if you will. And it hurts more and more as you squeeze those lungs, and the little person next to you keeps saying, push harder, 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 and your tears just start flowing. It's just not a fun thing, but you have to do them. And this is where I was originally finding out that I had progressed in my disease too far, too quickly. And so I started wearing something called a pulse ox to make sure that my oxygen was always up to par. So we naturally lose our ability to get oxygen in our bloodstream as we age. But typically when you go run, if you're 96, 98% O2 rate, you stay there. In fact, you actually get more oxygen in your blood, it pumps more in. And so when someone with a pulmonary fibrosis or a lung disease, CF or some of these other ones, we lose oxygen very quickly. And so I wear this little meter, and I would just keep staying fit. And anybody who gets diagnosed with the illness, the first thing they'll do is their family gathers around and gives you all this advice. And one thing they wanted me to do was leave MUSC and go find a second opinion. And so I went out to National Jewish Hospital, which is at, unfortunately, 5,000 feet in Denver, where it was even harder to breathe. And I got the same diagnosis. And I was told MUSC has the finest doctors. My doctor had trained under these doctors at Denver. And they said, you're pretty sick. They said, stay healthy, and when it's time, you get a lung transplant. So I took what I was given, this deck of cards. I said, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to live the best I can for the time I have left. And like anybody, you pray for miracles. You take the bark from the Amazon jungle because someone says it works. You do anything to get this miracle in your life, and you have fun. So I couldn't put my sailboat in the water anymore because it was just too much exertion, but I could put it in the little sewage ponds at Ion, which they call lakes. And then Catherine had taught me the inevitable lunges, and so my wife and I would keep doing those. And spinning. Great thing about spinning is that little dial. You go up and down and control your exertion. One of the greatest exercises I think there is bike riding and spinning. And I kept traveling. So even though they tell you not to travel anymore, I kept traveling, I kept hiking, I kept doing everything. I would just slow down. I just didn't let it stop. And I had to lose weight. My BMI was approaching 30, and unfortunately, they don't transplant when you hit above 30. So the doctor says, oh, you gotta lose weight. I'm like, ugh. I'm on 60 milligrams of prednisone a day, which anybody knows about that. It not only makes you kind of prickly, it sends you to the moon so quickly on different things, but you also will eat the refrigerator in front of you if given a chance. So it was kind of hard to keep losing weight, and I didn't like wearing these oxygen masks out in public because I was the strong, my ego would get in the way of that, let's just say. But the funny thing is, at MUSC at that point, we didn't have our own respiratory center, so they put us over at the wellness center during midday, and the worst thing would be these really young, healthy med students would come over and run right next to us, and we'd be there with her, and they would always think that we were sports guys training, you know, having this extra oxygen on us. And one thing we noticed is we laughed more because we were having problems. And what's interesting about our group, and I include myself in the HCC group, is that we laugh more because it's harder sometimes. You know, we're overweight, or we're struggling with this, or I'm the first one who looks for bathrooms on my runs. You know, I'm like, I'm not running that. You know, I'll argue with Katie Blaylock every January about what I will or won't do, although she usually wins. It's like any terminal disease that you have, cancer or whatever, that they tell you, you go into remission, and mine would go into remission, and I would get to do things again that I loved to do. And these things became my sacred bucket list, my last things I was going to do with my life. One of them was windsurfing. It was my favorite sport. I kept going up to Frankie's with my nieces. I kept hitting the batting cage. I could swing 3 times and sit down. So it worked. It's kind of like when you showed up originally and you made this commitment to lose weight, you could run maybe 4 steps on day 1, and then walk 5 steps, and then run another 4 steps. Well, that was just me, doing what we can with the deck of cards that you've been given. And again, like you, in this program, we do funny things. I would jump in the water with 2 dogs in the middle of winter. Just like when we're faced with incredible odds, we stop caring about what people think. And so with any disease, you take a little bit of blood now and then sometimes they take a lot of blood. And so with transplant, they take a lot of blood the week of workup and test a lot of things called antigens, antibodies, all these kind of things to begin to say, okay, here are your stats, and hopefully someone will come along and match you. And I kept traveling. Wasn't gonna let it go. I just kept having fun, doing what I can with what I could. So again, even in this environment, I'm down there in this rather ritzy resort that I couldn't pay for, but a friend of ours' father built it. So we're down there, I'm lugging my oxygen along and working out. It's kind of like maybe the same feeling that, I don't know about you, but I sew up the track sometimes on Tuesday nights, and all the little, what I call skinnies, are running around that track at 6-minute miles. All right? Beautiful runners. I've watched Benita and Bob run for 25 years now. And when I see Bob running, sometimes I'll see him running up or down East Bay Street, and he has just this beautiful going, or trot, shall we say. Or these runners around the track, they have this speed that's gorgeous. And so you get a little self-conscious when the walkers are running faster than me now. Or I'm sure some of you may have felt subconsciously that you walked into MUSC gym, and you're like, okay, we're going to get fit. And you know, my clothes don't fit me sometimes or whatever. Or, you know, there's things that make you feel like we're not athletes. But we are. We just have a little more trouble than other people. So in 2011, almost to the date, the doctor said you'll be dead in 4 years. I almost died. In lung transplant, you have a very small window of organ donation and transplant. And so you have to be sick enough to get a transplant, but you have to be healthy enough to get that transplant at the same time. Which is where our fitness and the idea of this presentation comes to. Kind of the summary here is, are you healthy enough to get sick? Because no matter what hits you in life, when you check into whatever that problem is that you're having, it can be an emotional, mental, it can be a physical, but people who are fit do better. That's all there is to it. Whether it's the endorphins, or whether it's the fact that people who are fit and go to the hospital and have surgery are the first people to get back on the treadmill, whatever it is, people who are fit do better when it comes down to a problem. People who are working on their life, shall we say, spending time on themselves. People who are fit up here and in here. So here I am checked in. I'm on 50 liters of oxygen at this point. Normally you see those cans being pulled around, those are 12 liters being pumped into you. At this point I can't move. I'm on 50 liters, and I've been given 24 to 48 hours to live at this point. All of a sudden I was almost too sick to get transplanted. So the last 30 days of my life, I had kind of pushed aside people who were not going to be in my life the last 30 days, long before that. Maybe the last year of my life, I kind of began to focus on, okay, what's important? What's left? In the last 30 days, I got down to just my wife and my dog, and maybe a few family coming over. And a couple friends came over. They knew it was getting pretty bad. But at this point, even in the hospital, I really didn't want to see friends or family. I just kind of was ready to accept my fate, whatever it was going to be. Because there's no guarantee, obviously, with transplant. Even if you get lungs, you don't know if they're going to work out. So you got to be ready. Every day of your life, you got to be ready, because tomorrow may be your day. We'll come to that one in a minute, too. So here I am on my final night of life. The doctors told my wife, look, this is it. He's about to pass. Things had began shutting down in my body. I wasn't eating anymore. I wasn't taking on fluids. A lot of things just weren't going right. Although they were pumping stuff into me, my kidneys were starting to stop working, which is one of the first signs that you're dying. My wife used to describe it as a metal smell to me at that point. A change in your body. But I was happy, and she was happy. And I think that's part of the goal of fitness and healthiness, is being happy, finding that part of you that says, I got this. Starting to make decisions that are good decisions, all the way through it. And the very next day, the doctor walked in and said, we have lungs. Unbeknownst, I mean, it was just, wow, okay, I'm almost out cold. There was nothing major on this last day. I was already pretty much unconscious at this point. This is me rolling to surgery at 7 o'clock at night. That's the next hour. So 5 hours later, whatever, after my transplant, there I am in the hospital bed, nicely on drugs, which we discussed earlier this evening about drugs and how they can really make you have a nice sleep. A couple days later, they pull out the tubes, and I felt great. The doctors described the part of their happiest moment is when the blood goes back through the new lungs, and you start to breathe air. Air comes naturally into these lungs, and those lungs have been transplanted from somebody else. So I have someone else's lungs inside of me now. Start to be your lungs. It's like a new birth right there inside your own body. And I honestly, I woke up and I felt like I had been Lazarus called back from the grave. Because you actually, during my transplant, they put me on heart bypass for 5 hours, and so I didn't have a heart or lungs breathing for me during my time frame. And I feel like this is, you get, I remember being approached when I was 14 years old in a Christian setting or something, and someone said, have you been born again? I'm like, dude, I'm born again every day. You know, now I really get what it's like. You know, you say, wow, you get a second chance at life. So here's my doctor. Love this guy, Dr. Tim Whalen. My decision to come to MUSC was based on one person, Tim Whalen. I was the second person to get a transplant here. I took a high risk. I went from going to Duke, number 1 or 2 in the United States of transplants, to MUSC. And I find that who you're with, your coach, your team, the love that we share between each other, to me, is the biggest connection that I can have and the most healing thing I can have in life. And here's this great nurse who was one of my best friends for 5 or 6 days, making me walk. First thing they make you do is walk 20 feet on day 3. And the way she got me out was I'd gotten into a chair. She said, we need to change your bed out to a different type of bed or something. And then they took the bed out of the room. And they said, you have to walk before you can go back to your bed. So you can see I was a little bit pissed off at that. And I had a few tubes still coming out of me at that point. 7 days later, drinking my Starbucks. So how do we touch each other? I always like to remember this one person in my life who brought me coffee. Never said hello, but every morning at 6 a.m. there was fresh Starbucks, and that was Catherine. So how we can touch people is so amazing with the smallest little thing. I'm a Starbucks freak, and my coffee and blueberry muffins every morning, and it made me feel normal. And that was just great for me. My wife and I would start walking the stairs, so what you do right now is what you'll do if something happens to you. The lunges and the walks and all these things I was doing at MUSC Art Center. People thought I was the funniest looking patient in the world with tennis shoes, robes. Thankfully my bottom wasn't hanging out of the back. Here I am heading home 11 days afterwards, back on the treadmill in 13 days. This is an amazing shot because most lung transplant patients that I've met have never worked out, unfortunately. I love getting back on that treadmill. You'll love it too now that you find this incredible power that comes from the workouts you get and the energy. I always say on a Monday or a Sunday if I'm not feeling good, if I show up to Catherine's class on Sunday morning, I know I'm going to feel wonderful by the end of the class. Hit Starbucks. I'm not trying to push Starbucks. But, you know, that gives me my power right there to the day. My best sales call ever is showing up at class. Or showing up knowing I have Wednesday night with Katie Blaylock for Run Club. I think those are, if you say you had boundaries in life like a bowling alley, to me it's the classes we sign up for. It kind of keeps us in that line. Whether you go to church on Sundays, whether you have friends groups or book clubs, to me it's these little lines we put down the side of ours that say, oh, I got this meeting, I got that meeting, I got a reason to show up. So here I am, again, getting out and getting my first exercise on the beach 30 days afterwards with my dog and my wife. I wore a mask. You wear masks not to prevent yourself getting disease, but prevent other people from hugging you. Because at MUSC, they'll tell the patients, look, this is to keep other people away from you. Because everybody thinks we're the ones that have a problem. But in reality, it's all of us who are, sort of, quote, healthy that have the problem, not the ones in the hospital. Hitting the bridge again with the bicycle. Playing tennis 90 days, 100 days later, one of my other favorite things to do. My new lungs looking beautiful, clear. My lungs were completely white when I went into the hospital. Hiking again, doing what I love. And that brings us to my other sponsor, which is Jonathan. This is my organ donor right here. You know, I never met Jonathan, but I used to pray for Jonathan before I received my organ transplant. I prayed that I named him Brian. I said, you know, I'm not a real religious guy. I'm more of a spiritual, zen-y guy, let's say. But I used to say, you know what, we're both going down a wrong road right now. Would you please make a change so we don't have to have this combination? Because as a transplant person that you're waiting for a lung or an organ, you have a bit of a guilt trip that, oh my God, someone's got to die for you to live. It's kind of this weird feeling. And then they tell you, well, no, it's not really that way. It's a natural way to feel. But someone's going to die, or you're going to die, people die. It's a question of whether they're going to give their organs away after they're done with them. That's all there is to it. I've always been an organ donor. I've always been a bone marrow donor. I've always done all those things. And Jonathan was not an organ donor, but his family gathered. They were all pretty close family, and the mom especially. And you can see down here, during the time organ retrieval was occurring, our family gathered in a circle and prayed that God would guide the placement of those organs. And they would go to individuals who would do work for God on this earth. That was their prayer. And I try to answer that every day of my life with the honor of having his lungs inside of me. And it's a nice little saying, I always think there's no words for the gratitude that organ recipients have for the families who in a very tough situation gave away the organs of their loved ones. And that brings us to organ donation. It's a wonderful place to be a hero in your life. You get to make this decision at the DMV normally, where they say, hey, what do you want to do with your life at the end? And I hope you all will not only be organ donors, but that you'll consider talking to other people about it, because the state of South Carolina is way behind in organ donation signups. And all of his family are now organ donors because of the donation Jonathan did. So how well my lungs work, this is 11,000 feet hiking. They work pretty well these days. So organ donation, it's easy, heroic, easy thing to do. Each person can save 8 lives. So we want to talk about making a difference in the medical field, become an organ donor. These are actual organ donors and recipients in South Carolina. I always think the woman on the left is startling to me, knowing that she died in an accident and her eyes are in someone else's now. Just like Jonathan's lungs are in me breathing. It's a beautiful gift, and the people who, when I speak to, I'm best friends now, not best friends, but good friends with Lynn, Jonathan's mom, and her family. Every year I go up there and do a fundraiser with them. And she puts her hands on my lungs, and listens to her son. It always makes me a little emotional too. But I'm a star for her because I'm carrying his name. And that is what organ donation can be for people, is it's a way to have the beauty of the best person live in their lives live on. So when you check your licenses, one of the problems in the state of South Carolina is the old licenses prior to 2010. The state of South Carolina Supreme Court declared the organ donation system wrong or incorrect. They had to start all over again. So if your license doesn't have the lower bottom circle with 3 dashes, it means you're not an organ donor. You can sign up online, SC-Life, or you can do it at the DMV. So, bringing this back full circle. I think the day you signed up for the HCC was the biggest day that some of us face. When I sign up for a race, I become an athlete. That day, when you sign up for HCC, you became an athlete that day. You joined a new club. This is a sweet club to be part of, this MUSC club. We're a little different. The fact that you become part of a run club makes other people look at you like you're crazy, like who would want to be part of a run club? You know, beer clubs, football clubs, yeah, you know, freaking running. Are you crazy? Who wants to do that? Losing weight at 7 a.m. in the morning, ugh, you know? But we do it, we have fun, we run in the rain, we do stupid things, crazy things, and now I really love the people that are out there just trying to do the best they can. One of the things that always inspires me is I'm always running a race, even when I was not had a lung problem. There'd always be someone who passes me at the end of the race that makes me giggle. Now it's, this last time I did a half marathon, 3 little old ladies walked past me at the very end of the half marathon. And I didn't care, my wife was a little pissed off. And then last September, October, I finished my summer season running a 10-mile race at the Raccoon Pond Forest Run, which is something if you've never tried, I encourage you to try off-trail running. There's a lot of them here in Charleston, out in the Francis Marion Forest. They're gorgeous trail runs. A lot of times you're by yourself. It's just a fun way to get lost. And I'm really lost usually because I'm the last one coming in. And in this race, I think I was last. Usually everybody's packed up and gone. But there's usually someone who left me a little piece of food out there and a bottle of water and directions on how to get out of the forest. And the photographer always likes to catch the last guy. So, which brings me to the point which I think I'm going to leave you with tonight. I always try to make it a little different. So I fell off the wagon. And you're going to fall off the wagon at some point in your life. And what do? I was really excited about my riding. I was talking to Cindy earlier this evening, up through September. Because when I run, I'm usually connected to my coaches. It was like when I was in school, if I liked the teacher, great, A+. If I didn't like the teacher, F. No questions asked, couldn't care less. Didn't even show up with the right book, never would have a book, whatever, you know. I'm that kind of guy, for some reason I'm emotional. I like to get attached to people, and not in a negative sense, hopefully. But, so after this run, I'd kind of gotten disconnected from my group, my running group, and I kind of stopped running. A very interesting thing happened to me, which hadn't happened in a while. And I finally figured out it's because of the connection of love, the connection of friends. And it came full circle to me on Monday when Notorious met me at the 7 a.m. class, and I thankfully was playing music that morning, because sometimes Catherine's music is like, wow. Oh, God, AC/DC? Are you freaking kidding me? Anyway, so I'm putting on my music, and all of a sudden Notorious starts doing this little dance. I'm like, oh my God, this is the funniest thing in the world. This is why I run. The connection. She makes me love life again right there in that moment. Cindy and Ed, seeing them at the runs. Katie Blaylock tonight, asking her how her and Bo are doing. Love and all these great things. And seeing Benita again tonight, who I hope is there in January on a cold night when we start the running club again. These are all beautiful moments in my life. And that's why I want to encourage you, so what's going to change tonight for you? And my wife and I were discussing this in the yard this evening as she was raking the leaves and I was walking around asking her questions. And, I like to tell neighbors that's our relationship. She does the work and I just chat the whole time. But I said, so what is it? What do I leave these people with tonight? You know, I'm not trying to psych you up for anything. I'm not an inspirational speaker. I'm not any of those things. But I try to leave you with a challenge. And so here's my challenge that my doctor left me with. Our group, I have so many groups, but pulmonary group is something I'm working with too. And he says, look people, half of you will make it to 5 years. So they were asking the question of, can we travel? Can we do these things? These were new lung transplants. I felt like new HCC people coming in, you know, and the old HCC people like, yeah, we can do it, whatever. I'm like, yeah, you can travel. But he hit me on the head with, half of you won't make it past 5 years normally. That's the stat. I'm like, jeepers, I'm year 4. I'm now almost 4 years out. And of my initial 4 people that were in my group, 1 has already died. And so there's 3 of us that are in the initial 4 group, and we're all in year 4, and we're looking at each other like, all right, one of us has got 1 year left. What are we going to do? And so that's what kind of this boils down to, this end night here, is you're celebrating a beautiful step that you've all made. And I'm going to tell you, it's a huge step. When Catherine said, do you want to be part of HCC group? I'm like, no. I mean, you know what? 7 days of workout a week, and recording what I eat, kill it. That is so hard. You know, I look at that and I said, lung transplant was easy compared with this massive action plan that says, I'm going to be at all these different things. And again, I've talked to Cindy and Ed about how many races we all sign up for to make sure we have an appointment with hell. You know, that I'm going to do a 10K run Saturday morning regardless. I paid $50, I'm there. Or make sure you have an appointment with, you know, heaven, depending on how you work with it. Because the happiness comes when we get those runs in. Afterwards, we're like, yeah, did another one. Great, you feel great. You're done with your workout, you feel good. You feel good all week long. So, I made a commitment to run 5 miles a week for every week next year. Because I used to say this, that I would have my long run would be every morning, Saturday morning, 10 miles. That was way before in 2006 or 4. I said, look, if I'm not running 10 miles long every Saturday morning, something's wrong in my life. What's wrong that we're not taking time to enjoy life, to get out, enjoy our friends, have a nice breakfast afterwards, whatever. So I said back to myself that you have to set your goals based upon a weekly commitment. Sometimes it's not about getting to the marathon. Sometimes it is. It's a great goal to have that end goal. But then there are these goals that are just these little decisions like saying no to the Twinkie bus. All right? So we've got the Twinkie bus now in our list of things that we're leaving here with. Are you going to say no to the Twinkie bus every single moment of your life? Because why do we say yes to the chocolate chip cookie? It's because we don't associate that chocolate chip cookie with this right away. It takes about 20 chocolate chip cookies to make a difference here. So one is not going to make a difference. And we'll take that 1 or 2. So it's a daily decision, a weekly decision that I'm going to encourage you to put in your to-do list. And then when we see each other, we can say, how'd you do on your to-do list this week? Did you hit it? Whatever it is you want to do, make it fun, make it great.